As time passed, the epical cataclysm erupted and ended for one person after another. Everything went so smoothly. In fact, the internal small kiliocosms of most 8 cataclysm kiliocosm sovereigns had already begun to collapse, but due to their massive size, only a portion of them collapsed. That little amount of time gave the kiliocosm sovereigns a chance to catch their breaths. Hence, the first medium kiliocosm sovereign was born. This was the 6th medium kiliocosm sovereign in the medium kiliocosm. However, at this moment, the 4 medium kiliocosm sovereigns and Lin Feng did not appear too excited. After all, they had already witnessed the kiliocosm sovereign Kunlong with their own eyes, so they naturally would not be so excited. Right on the heels of that was the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. As time passed, the number of medium kiliocosm sovereigns also increased. These were not 7 cataclysm kiliocosm sovereigns or 8 cataclysm kiliocosm sovereigns, but great and powerful medium kiliocosm sovereigns who had undergone metamorphosis of life. Even in the void, they were great and powerful voidwalkers who were the backbone of the void. 1 or 2 were very simple, but now 10 or dozens of voidwalkers had been born one after another. How shocking was this? Even the 4 medium kiliocosm sovereigns went from being nonchalant previously to breathing heavily, and their expressions gradually became extremely solemn. In the end, they still could not maintain their calm. When the last medium kiliocosm sovereign was born, the 4 medium kiliocosm sovereigns could no longer conceal the shock in their hearts. Their shock was beyond expression with words, as if they could not believe it. In fact, the 4 medium kiliocosm sovereigns were not the only ones who could not believe it. The 108 medium kiliocosm sovereigns who had already broken through also seemed to be in disbelief. They had become medium kiliocosm sovereigns with such ease. A total of over 100 medium kiliocosm sovereigns and voidwalkers appeared together at the same time, and were born one after another. How shocking was this scene? He actually succeeded. Over 100 medium kiliocosm sovereigns. Unbelievable, truly unbelievable. When have we ever seen such a grand scene? All 108 cataclysm kiliocosm sovereigns have become medium kiliocosm sovereigns. This is a 100% chance of advancement. The chaos kiliocosm sovereign did not hold back at all. What he said is true. There is no risk at all. With these over 100 voidwalkers, we kiliocosm sovereigns can have a place even in the vast void. In fact, these 100 voidwalkers will soon become advanced voidwalkers in the future. If they obtain top-notch supreme treasures on top of that, many peak voidwalkers would be born. How great is this power? Lin Feng watched all this with gratification. Actually, to him, everything was already predetermined. He knew very well that the kiliocosm sovereign cultivation system he had perfected would definitely be the safest and most convenient. Most of these medium kiliocosm sovereigns would be able to become advanced voidwalkers. There would be almost no accidents. As for peak voidwalkers, that would be somewhat difficult. Peak voidwalkers needed a top-notch supreme treasure tailor-made for them. This required a large amount of life stones. Even for senior advanced voidwalkers, it was an astronomical figure. Of course, they could also obtain top-notch supreme treasures and slowly nurture them. Then, they might also be able to become a peak voidwalker, but the probability of that was relatively small. Of course, Lin Feng had infinite life stones. He could even tailor-made top-notch supreme treasures for many medium kiliocosm sovereigns, but he would not do this. The current medium kiliocosm was no longer in danger. In fact, the kiliocosm sovereign cultivation system had already been completely perfected. In the future, these kiliocosm sovereigns would have to rely on themselves. In the end, one still had to rely on themselves for cultivation. Of course, Lin Feng still had a huge gift for the 3 earliest medium kiliocosm sovereigns, Kiliocosm Mythical Tree, Kiliocosm Sovereign Xuanshang, and Kiliocosm Sovereign Heart Illusion. At the very least, he had to prepare a top-notch supreme treasure tailor-made for the 3 of them, and help the 3 medium kiliocosm sovereigns enter the ranks of peak voidwalkers. Moreover, if these 3 kiliocosm sovereigns entered the ranks of peak voidwalkers, they could also help Lin Feng expand his influence in the Great Light City, allowing him, the honorary city lord of the Great Light City, to truly have a presence. However, Lin Feng had yet to explain these things to the three Kiliacosm sovereigns. There was no hurry now. Now was the time for the medium Kiliacosm sovereigns to celebrate. Time passed day by day. The entire medium Kiliacosm underwent a drastic change, like a huge earthquake. Perhaps after many Kiliacosm sovereigns finished cultivating, they would realize that the medium Kiliacosm had already changed. Why were medium Kiliacosm sovereigns everywhere? What was going on? However, when they found out what was going on, they were all stunned. Deep down, they could not quite believe it. Over 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns. How shocking was this? In the past, over the long years in the medium Kiliacosm, how many medium Kiliacosm sovereigns had been born in total? Including Lin Feng, there were only 4 in total. Perhaps Kiliacosm sovereign Kunlong could also be counted, but that would still only make 5 of them. But now, more than 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns had appeared at once, and it happened in a very short period of time. There had been no news at all previously. How was this possible? What exactly is going on? I've been slumbering for only 100 years, and just woke up yesterday. Why does the medium Kiliacosm seem to have changed? It's not just changed. It's simply undergone an upheaval. Unbelievable. Over 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns. No wonder the 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereigns all disappeared previously. Did they break through collectively? At the mention of the disappearance of the 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereign, and now the appearance of over 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns, even the most foolish person knew that some unexpected upheaval might have occurred in the medium Kiliacosm. The Kiliacosm sovereigns did not wonder for long, because using themselves as examples, the 100 newly minted medium Kiliacosm sovereigns told their story. For a moment, the entire medium Kiliacosm went into raptures. Lin Feng, the Chaos Kiliacosm sovereign, had improved the Kiliacosm sovereign cultivation system, or rather, perfected the last stage of the Kiliacosm sovereign cultivation system. This way, the 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereigns no longer had to worry, and the breakthrough rate was as high as 100%. How great was this achievement? In a sense, Lin Feng's actions actually had a greater impact than even Kiliacosm sovereign mythical trees. Many people were very envious of these 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns. However, at the same time, Lin Feng's perfected cultivation technique for the Kiliacosm sovereign system was also publicized. Many Kiliacosm sovereigns were incomparably excited. The examples were right in front of them. How shocking were over 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns. If they obtained those natural treasures, did that mean that after they became 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereigns, they could also successfully break through to the realm of medium Kiliacosm sovereign? The ones who were most excited and disappointed were probably the 7 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereigns. They were only one step away from being 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereigns, but just this step prevented them from catching such a good opportunity. Moreover, it was obvious those natural treasures in the void were not that easy to obtain. How could Lin Feng, the Chaos Kiliacosm sovereign, bestow them with more? They had to fight and compete for everything. However, overall, they saw hope. It was unlike in the past, when they seemed to be one step closer to the end of their lifespan after entering the realm of 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereign. Now, if they entered the realm of 8 cataclysm Kiliacosm sovereign, they would be one step closer to becoming a medium Kiliacosm sovereign. This was a grand event for the entire medium Kiliacosm. The medium Kiliacosm ushered in a new era, and this era was opened by Lin Feng. It was symbolized by the birth of over 100 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns. However, Lin Feng, who had opened the new era of the medium Kiliacosm, specially found Kiliacosm sovereign mythical tree and the other 2 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns to discuss a matter. He was preparing to leave the medium Kiliacosm and return to the Great Light City. After all, the stage of the medium Kiliacosm was still too small. Lin Feng's stage still lay in the vast void. Your Majesties, you have already guarded the medium Kiliacosm for many epochs, and have not even explored the void properly. Are you willing to follow me to the Great Light City this time? Lin Feng asked directly. Go to the Great Light City? Of course we'd like to venture there. However, we're too weak. I'm afraid we won't be of much help to you. Kiliacosm sovereign mythical tree shook his head. It was not that he did not want to adventure, but that he knew very well that the current Lin Feng was no longer the same as before. He was an ultimate voidwalker. Their little strength was nothing even among advanced voidwalkers. With Lin Feng's strength, even if they followed Lin Feng to the Great Light City, they would not be of much help. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Strength? Actually, the 3 Kiliacosm sovereigns don't have to be too modest. The 3 of you are all advanced voidwalkers and senior ones at that. What you lack now is just a top-notch supreme treasure tailor-made for you. Once you obtain a top-notch supreme treasure tailor-made for you, you will become peak voidwalkers in one leap. Coincidentally, while I may lack other things, I do have a lot of life stones. As long as the 3 Kiliacosm sovereigns follow me to the Great Light City, I will invite the top artifact refinement master of the Great Light City to customize top-notch supreme treasures for the 3 Kiliacosm sovereigns, and help the 3 Kiliacosm sovereigns become peak voidwalkers." As soon as Lin Feng finished speaking, the breathing of the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns quickened. They stared intently at Lin Feng. "Chaos Kiliacosm sovereign, are you serious? Will you really help us to forge tailor-made top-notch supreme treasures? Of course, in the Great Light City, I can command this bit of favor," Lin Feng said confidently. Actually, it was not that easy to customize a top-notch supreme treasure. In fact, just having life stones was far from enough. For example, some special materials were not so easy to obtain. In fact, it depended on the mood of top-notch artifact refining masters. They would not forge it for just anyone. But who was Lin Feng? He was the honorary city lord of the Great Light City, and an ultimate voidwalker at that. All the artifact refining masters would give him face. As long as Lin Feng asked, there were plenty of refining masters in the Great Light City who were willing to help Lin Feng. As for the refining materials, that was simple. Lin Feng had life stones, a large amount of life stones, and was an ultimate voidwalker. Wouldn't those chambers of commerce flock to him and take the initiative to approach him? Hence, top-notch supreme treasures were indeed not worth mentioning to Lin Feng at this moment. They were nothing much at all. It was just that Lin Feng trusted the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns. Moreover, the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns had indeed helped Lin Feng directly or indirectly. In that case, Lin Feng would naturally return the favor. He had to give the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns a huge gift. And this grand gift was a top-notch supreme treasure. "All right, we are willing to follow the Chaos Kiliacosm sovereign to the Great Light City." How could the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns not agree? Being able to obtain a top-notch supreme treasure tailor-made for them and become peak voidwalkers was simply a dream they had harbored for many years. Now that it was about to happen, even the 3 usually calm Kiliacosm sovereigns were very excited. Next, Lin Feng and the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns made all the arrangements. There were over 100 voidwalkers in the medium Kiliacosm. Lin Feng did not want to restrain these 100 voidwalkers. They could still leave at will and roam the void. However, some would ultimately stay behind, enough to guard the medium Kiliacosm. Moreover, Lin Feng had also announced his identity. He was the honorary city lord of the Great Light City. Once a medium Kiliacosm sovereign from his medium Kiliacosm came to the Great Light City, Lin Feng would more or less provide protection for them. Moreover, a voidwalker, even a voidwalker under the command of an ultimate voidwalker, was a backbone force. No one would complain about having too many voidwalkers. Lin Feng and the 3 medium Kiliacosm sovereigns were basically assured. The current medium Kiliacosm could be considered to be on track. In the future, the speed at which voidwalkers were born in the medium Kiliacosm might not be as fast as now, but as time passed, their numbers would definitely increase. Moreover, more and more Kiliacosm sovereigns would choose to venture into the void. Even though the Vitality Void Lotus was very expensive and cost a lot, if a voidwalker saved up for a period of time, they could actually still afford to purchase it. As for whether it was for their family or friends after purchase, it actually made no difference in the end. It would still promote the development of the medium Kiliacosm. This was a positive cycle and what Lin Feng was expecting. However, if the medium Kiliacosm did not encounter a life or death crisis in the future, Lin Feng would not casually interfere in the affairs of the medium kiliocosm anymore. It's time to leave. The three medium kiliocosm sovereigns looked at the medium kiliocosm behind them with a trace of reluctance in their eyes. However, no matter how reluctant they were still advanced voidwalkers. They had to leave eventually. Lin Feng also took a long look at the medium kiliocosm. He did not know when he would return after this trip. Perhaps it would be a long time. However, voidwalkers had infinite lifespans, so he did not feel much melancholy. Let's go. Hence, Lin Feng led the three medium kiliocosm sovereigns on the spaceship and quickly left the medium kiliocosm, flying into the depths of the void. The Great Light City was as prosperous as ever. In the void, countless fleets of cultivators and chambers of commerce came and went. They entered and exited the Great Light City one after another. The void near the Great Light City appeared incomparably lively. This was only one side to the prosperity of the Great Light City. As a void city, there was only one reason that truly allowed the Great Light City to prosper, and that was safety. That's right, safety. There were no rules or restrictions in the void. The strong were basically respected. Sometimes even experts would be harassed. Hence, the void city was a safe haven for cultivators. All cultivators hoped to go to a city that could make them feel at peace and rest quietly for a while. This was the meaning of the existence of void cities. As for the Great Light City, it had experienced three major crises, but without exception, it had maintained stability. The great ruler of the Light Clan was very responsible and courageous. Moreover, the array he set up in the Great Light City was indeed extraordinary. Ordinary ultimate voidwalkers could not do anything to it at all. At this moment, a gray stream of light flew towards the Great Light City in the void. Just as it was about to approach the Great Light City, it suddenly stopped, revealing a gray figure. "Great ruler, I've come back," the gray figure muttered softly. He looked at the prosperous Great Light City not far away. His eyes filled with madness. "Ha ha ha, Ruler Blueblood, you're indeed very fast. However, even if you want to take revenge, it wouldn't hurt to wait for a moment. This time, we're here to do something huge." Not long after the gray figure arrived, three figures arrived outside the Great Light City one after another. Without exception, these three figures emitted a powerful aura that was not inferior to the gray figure. Ruler Blueblood snorted coldly and said, "According to our previous agreement, after we breach the Great Light City, I'll take 40%, and the three of you will take 20% each. However, there's a prerequisite. No matter what, don't let the Light Clan Great Ruler off. He must die." "Ruler Blueblood, don't worry. We all know about your feud with the Light Clan Great Ruler. Your strength has improved greatly this time. You obtained a fragment of an Origin Supreme Treasure and fused it into your Origin Supreme Treasure. Your strength should be slightly stronger than the Great Ruler now, right? With the four of us joining forces, how can we let the Great Ruler escape?" The other three were all ultimate voidwalkers, and they spoke arrogantly. Although the ruler Blueblood was strong, they were not afraid of him. "Humph. If not for the sake of killing the Great Ruler and making sure nothing goes wrong, why would I find you?" The ultimate goal of ruler Blueblood was actually not the wealth of the Great Light City, but for revenge. If the Light Clan Great Ruler had not snatched his Origin Supreme Treasure back then, how could he have remained dormant until now? The two parties could be said to have a deep feud, and there was no room for reconciliation at all. In the past, the two of them had fought. Relying on the Great Light City, the Light Clan Great Ruler had even severely injured ruler Blueblood. Unfortunately, he could not kill ruler Blueblood, and ruler Blueblood went into seclusion from then on. This time, ruler Blueblood was clearly already sufficiently prepared when he made his appearance. "Then let's do it. Don't worry about the people of the Great Light City. Of course, it's a prosperous void city. We've been coveting the Great Light City for a long time. Unfortunately, we couldn't break into the Great Light City. There's only the Light Clan Great Ruler. He's the only one who's an ultimate voidwalker. As for the rest, they're just useless. Don't worry about them." These people's intelligence was clearly a little outdated. They did not know that an honorary city lord had already appeared in the Great Light City. However, even if they knew, they probably would not care. Attack! With ruler Blue Blood's order, he immediately transformed into a stream of light and flew directly towards the Great Light City. Great Light City break! A trace of hatred flashed across ruler Blue Blood eyes. Then, without holding back at all, his palm strike instantly enveloped the entire Great Light City. Buzz! The Great Light City was enveloped at once. A trace of unease rose in the depths of the hearts of countless cultivators. This is bad. There's an enemy attack. How bold. Someone actually dares to attack the Great Light City. However, this aura is really terrifying. Could it be an ultimate Void Walker? Even an ultimate Void Walker would find it extremely difficult to breach the Great Light City. The arrangements made by the Great Ruler in the Great Light City over countless years are not for show. Someone finally can't hold it in anymore. Wait, why is this aura so familiar? It seems to have appeared before. He's appeared before? Wait, he's really familiar. I think he's ruler Blue Blood. A huge palm appeared above the Great Light City, emitting a terrifying aura that almost enveloped the entire Great Light City. However, the people in the Great Light City did not appear panicked at all. Instead, they were very calm. They even had time to gossip about these people's origins. This was the safety they felt, and their confidence in the Great Light City. In the past, the Great Light City had suffered several similar attacks, but in the end, the Light Clan Great Ruler had easily resolved the crisis every time. They believed that it would be the same this time. The Light Clan Great Ruler could also resolve the crisis. Huh? Ruler Blue Blood. How dare you? In the depths of the City Lord Mansion, the Light Clan Great Ruler's expression changed. Then, a trace of anger appeared, and his furious voice spread throughout the Great Light City. At the same time, the Light Clan Great Ruler immediately slammed his palm towards the palm of ruler Blue Blood, meeting it head-on. Boom! There was a loud bang. The moment the Great Ruler came into contact with it, his expression changed drastically. His palm actually collapsed rapidly, as if it was crushed forcefully. Void City, Array Power, Break. The Light Clan Great Ruler immediately activated the array of the Great Light City. Immediately, the entire Void City shone brightly. Infinite array power converged continuously in the palm of the Great Ruler. Immediately, the Light Clan Great Ruler's palm condensed again. He actually forcefully blocked a strike from ruler Blue Blood. The two parties confronted each other for a while, before it dissipated. The Light Clan Great Ruler was shocked and furious. In the eyes of the people of the Great Light City, the Light Clan Great Ruler did not seem to be at a disadvantage. He easily resisted the attack of ruler Blue Blood. However, in reality, the Great Ruler knew very well that he had actually lost. Or rather, he was slightly inferior. If not for the power of the array in the Great Light City, he would have already lost. But in the past, he had defeated ruler Blue Blood. Ruler Blue Blood, you escaped last time. You should have cultivated properly, yet you are courting death and still want to destroy the Great Light City. This time, I won't let you escape no matter what. The Light Clan Great Ruler's shout spread throughout the Great Light City. Ruler Blue Blood was just outside the Great Light City. He sneered and said, "Let me escape? Hey, Great Ruler, you're not that kind-hearted. You couldn't keep me. Since I dare to come this time, I'm naturally confident that I can kill you. This time, you're the one who's truly doomed." The Light Clan Great Ruler frowned. He knew ruler Blue Blood very well. This was an unscrupulous person who would do anything to achieve his goals. Moreover, he was very forbearing. When he was weak, he would choose to lie low. Recently, the Light Clan Great Ruler had a sudden premonition. He had a faint sense of danger, but he did not know where the danger came from. It was why he was so insistent in finding ways to make Lin Feng the honorary city lord of the Great Light City. Unexpectedly, a crisis still occurred. Moreover, it came from his former opponent and enemy, ruler Blue Blood. Moreover, just as ruler Blue Blood had said without absolute confidence, he would not have shown up in the Great Light City. This time, the Great Light City might really be in danger. Ruler Blue Blood, you don't have to talk big. Can you break into the Great Light City? The Great Ruler sneered. He could be said to be full of confidence in the defense of the Great Light City. Is that so? I can't break it alone. But what if they join in? 3 figures suddenly flew out from behind Ruler Blue Blood. Seeing these 3 figures, the expression of the Light Clan Great Ruler changed drastically. For ultimate Void Walkers, Ruler Blue Blood, you really came prepared. The Great Ruler had a vague premonition that something was amiss. Although he was still confident in the Great Light City, he was not that confident at this moment. Hence, the Great Ruler immediately sent a message. Ruler Lin Feng, the Great Light City is in danger. Come and reinforce us quickly. At this moment, the Light Clan Great Ruler had not forgotten that his Great Light City still had an honorary city lord. In the void, a spaceship was flying rapidly. In the spaceship, Lin Feng sat cross-legged quietly in his room. His internal medium kiliocosm and the spacetime prison drifted slowly in the river of spacetime. The river of spacetime was always nurturing the spacetime prison. Only the river of spacetime could nurture the spacetime prison and allow it to constantly recover. Lin Feng's consciousness was already immersed in the spacetime prison. Ruler Void Vessel. Lin Feng saw Ruler Void Vessel. Ever since Ruler Void Vessel was suppressed, it was as if Lin Feng had forgotten about him. There was no movement at all. Now that Ruler Void Vessel finally saw Lin Feng, he was actually a little excited for a moment. Ruler, everything is a misunderstanding. I was just taking someone's money to resolve their problem. In the vast void, my reputation is evident to all. As long as you can let me go, you can state any condition. At this point, Ruler Void Vessel still did not want to die like this. He was still fighting to survive. After all, he was a peak Void Walker with boundless prospects. How could he be willing to die in grievance like this? Actually, Ruler Void Vessel had long regretted it. How could he have been deluded by those 2 fools, Wind and Sand? In order to obtain the wealth of Wind and Sand, he had taken the risk to save Wind and Sand, only to end up implicating himself. Lin Feng smiled and said, I'm an ultimate Void Walker. What can you help me with? Ruler Void Vessel hurriedly said, I have a Void Vessel. It can warp anywhere in the void. Void Vessel? Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He had been a little curious previously. Ruler Void Vessel could actually warp through the void, but not with spacetime power. So what was going on? From the looks of it, it should be due to the strange properties of this Void Vessel. Ruler Void Vessel was also very sensible. He immediately handed the Void Vessel over to Lin Feng. He also knew very well that being suppressed by Lin Feng meant that his life was in Lin Feng's hands. Whether he handed over the Void Vessel was actually meaningless. Lin Feng obtained this Void Vessel. However, he found it a little strange because the first time he came into contact with this Void Vessel, he had felt that it was not a top-notch supreme treasure. This was not something that could be refined by an artifact refining master in the void. In fact, this Void Vessel gave Lin Feng a faint sense of familiarity. This is an Origin Supreme Treasure? Lin Feng seemed to have suddenly thought of something and exclaimed, Origin Supreme Treasure? Impossible. There's no aura of origin on it. Hearing Lin Feng's voice, Ruler Void Vessel immediately denied it firmly. He had possessed the Void Vessel for so long. How could he not know if the Void Vessel was an Origin Supreme Treasure? There was no aura of origin on the Void Vessel at all. Every Origin Supreme Treasure had the aura of origin. Even Lin Feng's spacetime prison actually had the aura of origin. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Ruler Void Vessel to recognize at a glance that the spacetime prison was an Origin Supreme Treasure. Lin Feng frowned. It was true that he did not sense any aura of origin, but could an artifact refining master in the void forge the Void Vessel? Impossible. Apart from the principle of spacetime, Lin Feng had never heard of anyone who could warp through the void. How do I use the Void Vessel? Lin Feng did not care if the Void Vessel was an Origin Supreme Treasure. This spaceship was indeed very valuable for being able to warp through the void. In a sense, this spaceship was even comparable to an Origin Supreme Treasure. It was by relying on the Void Vessel that Ruler Void Vessel became so wealthy. It's very simple. You just need to give it a simple refinement and use the power that belongs to a Void Walker. Use the power of a void walker? Is it really that simple? Lin Feng was a little suspicious. Lin Feng simply left the spacetime prison with the void vessel and appeared in the spaceship. With a flash, he left the spaceship and arrived at the empty void. Buzz. Lin Feng infused the power of the medium chiliocosm. As expected, the void vessel could warp space. It did not break through the void, but seemed to fuse into the void in a strange way. Lin Feng vaguely sensed that this void vessel seemed to have a connection with the void. Right on the heels of that, Lin Feng ruthlessly extorted ruler void vessel, obtaining a massive amount of wealth. This wealth of all kinds was even comparable in value to dozens of top-notch supreme treasures. This was excluding the value of the void vessel. It was enough to show how wealthy the ruler void vessel was. He was even richer than many ultimate void walkers. However, ruler void vessel's tremendous wealth all went to Lin Feng now. As for ruler void vessel, Lin Feng did not kill him in the end. Actually, there was no longer any point in killing ruler void vessel. He was sealed in the spacetime prison. If he was lucky, Lin Feng might let him go one day. Otherwise, he would be imprisoned in the spacetime prison forever. The origins of this void vessel are a mystery. Even ruler void vessel only obtained it by chance. Lin Feng could not tell the origins of the void vessel. This made Lin Feng realize that there were actually many secrets in the void that he did not know. Just because he had become an ultimate void walker did not mean that he could understand all the secrets. Lin Feng did not understand the void, the origin realm, and so on. Suddenly, Lin Feng's communication stone received a message. Ruler Lin Feng, the Great Light City is in danger. Come and reinforce us quickly. Seeing this message, Lin Feng's expression changed abruptly. It's a message from the Light Clan Great Ruler. There's a crisis in the Great Light City. Who is it? Lin Feng's heart clenched. He did not know what the situation was like, but since the Light Clan Great Ruler had sent a message, it meant that the other party must be an ultimate void walker. Otherwise, how could the Great Light City be in danger? Moreover, they were definitely not an ordinary ultimate void walker. Otherwise, they would not be able to break through the defense of the Great Light City at all. Chiliocosm Sovereign Mythical Tree, we have to rush to the Great Light City immediately. Hurry up and enter this spaceship. I'll take you through the void and return directly to the Great Light City. Lin Feng's expression was anxious. He immediately gathered Chiliocosm Sovereign Mythical Tree and the other two medium Chiliocosm Sovereigns. Chiliocosm Sovereign Mythical Tree did not ask. The matter was urgent. The most important thing now was to return to the Great Light City as soon as possible. Although Lin Feng was only the honorary city lord of the Great Light City, his current interests were tied to the Great Light City. He received 30% of the profits of the Great Light City every year. Lin Feng could not bear to give up such a huge benefit either. If the Great Light City was destroyed, Lin Feng would also suffer heavy losses. Hence, when he heard that the Great Light City was in danger, Lin Feng was even more anxious than the Light Clan Great Ruler. At the very least, without the Great Light City, it would not be so easy for him to obtain top-notch supreme treasures or top-notch natural treasures again. You want to destroy the Great Light City? No matter who you are, I won't allow you to destroy the Great Light City. A trace of coldness flashed across Lin Feng's eyes. Hence, Lin Feng activated the void vessel directly. Immediately, the void vessel transformed into a stream of light and completely fused into the void before disappearing. Watch me break your turtle shell. Ruler Blue Blood stood in the void. Since he dared to come, he was naturally confident in breaking through the turtle shell set up by the Light Clan Great Ruler. Otherwise, what was the point if he could not break through the defense of the Great Light City? It was not that the three ultimate Voidwalkers following behind him had never thought of breaking into the Great Light City, but that they had never been able to do so. They also knew that it was unbreachable. Now, it was up to the ruler Blue Blood to break it. Do you think you are enough? Actually, the Great Ruler still felt uneasy, but at this moment, he had to do his best to guard the Great Light City and wait for Lin Feng's arrival. Otherwise, everything would be over. Ruler Blue Blood used his Origin Supreme Treasure. His Origin Supreme Treasure was a broken saber without a handle, and this broken saber emitted a sharp aura. Back then, after ruler Blue Blood obtained this broken saber, he became an ultimate Voidwalker. With this broken saber, he could be considered formidable among ultimate Voidwalkers. However, a broken saber was ultimately a broken saber. It was not complete, so its power naturally could not be considered very strong. Could not break through the Great Light City at all. Huh? Something's wrong. This broken saber seems to have become much more perfected. The Light Clan Great Ruler felt that something was amiss. He vaguely sensed that this broken saber seemed to be different from before. The broken saber in the past was far less complete than it was now, and did not even have a tip. The entire Origin Supreme Treasure looked very broken. But now, this broken saber was actually just short of the tip. The rest of it was intact. In fact, the aura on it had become stronger than before. "You found the rest of the broken saber?" The Light Clan Great Ruler said in shock. "Ha ha ha, not bad. Great Ruler, you finally caught on. Ever since I was severely injured by you last time, I've learned my lesson. I knew that it was impossible to defeat you with my strength for the time being. Only by finding the rest of the broken saber and perfecting it can I defeat you. After billions of years of searching for the broken saber, I finally found a portion of it. Although I still haven't perfected the broken saber, breaking through your turtle shell should be no problem. Heh! Great Ruler, open your eyes and watch your Great Light City be completely destroyed." Ha 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 ha. Ruler Blue Blood laughed maniacally. The Great Ruler's expression changed slightly. There was indeed a trace of panic in his heart, but he did not lose his rationality. The broken saber was indeed much more perfected, and even its aura was much stronger. However, it was only slightly stronger than the Great Ruler. If his judgment was correct, the broken saber of Ruler Blue Blood should be a powerful Origin Supreme Treasure. Unfortunately, the broken saber was incomplete and was even severely damaged. As a result, the former strength of Ruler Blue Blood was considered relatively weak even among ordinary Ultimate Voidwalkers. But now, Ruler Blue Blood had found a portion of the broken saber from somewhere unknown, making most of the broken saber intact. This way, most of the broken saber had basically been repaired, and had already enhanced Ruler Blue Blood's strength by a large margin. Although he was still inferior to a powerful Ultimate Voidwalker, he was already stronger than the Great Ruler. More importantly, the broken saber excelled in offense. Its sharpness could be considered terrifying, and it was most suitable for offense. Even the Great Ruler was uncertain if the defense of the Great Light City could withstand it. Swish! Finally, Ruler Blue Blood unleashed a full power strike. His broken saber slashed down majestically. This was a strike from an Origin Supreme Treasure. It almost enveloped the entire Great Light City. Even the Great Ruler could only watch helplessly as this broken saber descended. The sharp aura seemed ready to slice through everything. Even through the array, many people in the Great Light City felt as if they were about to be torn apart. Fear arose in their hearts. What is this? What a terrifyingly sharp aura. One feel as if I'm about to be sliced apart. Terrifying, truly terrifying. This must be the legendary Origin Supreme Treasure of the Ultimate Voidwalkers. Right? What? This is an Origin Supreme Treasure. Can the Great Ruler withstand such a terrifying Origin Supreme Treasure? At this moment, some people who were originally leisurely before were all hesitant and speechless now. They vaguely sensed that this time was probably different from the previous 3 times. It was very likely that the Great Ruler would not be able to withstand it. And it was very likely that the Great Light City would not be able to withstand it. Would be just like some other void cities in the void, breached by ultimate voidwalkers before everything was reduced to dust. If this strike landed and really tore apart the array of the Great Light City, the Great Light City would basically be destroyed. The number of people who could escape in the end could probably be counted on one hand. For a moment, the entire Great Light City was facing a life-or-death crisis. No, resist it! The Great Ruler of the Light Clan roared furiously. His voice was hysterical. At this moment, he no longer had any reservations. He also used his Origin Supreme Treasure. It was a beam of light, a holy light that instantly enveloped the Great Light City. The origin supreme treasure of the great ruler was a beam of light that did not seem to have a physical form. Integrating with the great light city, it vaguely formed the most formidable defense. The great ruler was risking his life. If the broken saber was too strong and sliced through the great light city, his origin supreme treasure would also be damaged. However, this was the great ruler's only method. Swish. In the next moment, the broken saber slashed Davin hard, cutting into the array of the great light city and the light of the great ruler. However, there was no earth-shattering explosion, nor was there a very shocking scene. Instead, it only made a strange sound. With this strange sound, the great ruler's entire body shook, and the aura on his body plummeted. Swish. A beam of light burrowed directly into the great ruler's body. His face was pale. Crack. As the light dissipated, traces of cracks appeared on the array of the great light city. More and more cracks appeared, densely packed like spiderwebs, covering the array of the great light city. Boom! The next moment, the array collapsed with a bang. The great light city was almost severed into two by a single strike. In fact, tens of thousands of cultivators were killed by this strike. Seeing this scene, the great ruler's expression was downcast. He muttered in a low voice, "It's over." It was indeed over. The origin supreme treasure that the great ruler had just used had actually been damaged by ruler blue blood. It might not even be able to unleash half of its combat power now. How could he resist ruler blue blood? Moreover, the array of the great light city had been broken. The great ruler was no longer just facing ruler blue blood, but the four ultimate voidwalkers. At this moment, even if Lin Feng rushed over, it was already impossible for him to turn the situation around. Ha ha ha, great ruler, to think that you would meet such an end. Now, I want you to watch how your great light city will be destroyed with your own eyes. As ruler blue blood gave the order, the three ultimate voidwalkers behind him also laughed maniacally and charged towards the great light city. Once they were allowed to enter, the great light city would instantly be reduced to ruins. Buzz. At this moment, spatial ripples appeared in the void, and a spaceship suddenly flew out right on the heels of it. It's the Void Vessel? Ruler Void Vessel is just a peak voidwalker, yet he wants to interfere. Seeing the Void Vessel, ruler Blue Blood and the others were slightly stunned. They knew ruler Void Vessel rather well. However, the voice coming from the Void Vessel did not belong to ruler Void Vessel. You want to annihilate the Great Light City? Have you asked me about it? An unfamiliar and cold voice entered everyone's ears. Ha! The despairing great ruler looked up at the familiar figure that had flown out of the Void Vessel and was slightly excited. However, then, he saw the array of the great light city shatter. Hence, he shook his head and said, "It's too late, ruler Lin Feng. You still came too late. Ruler Lin Feng? Humph, no matter which ultimate voidwalker you are, the array of the great light city has been broken now. Can you stop the four of us alone?" Ruler Blue Blood sneered. In reality, he was also slightly shocked just now. He had actually failed to find out that another ultimate voidwalker had appeared in the Great Light City. If not for the fact that the other party happened to be absent, he might have returned empty-handed again this time. Although his strength had increased by a little, if he faced a void city guarded by two ultimate voidwalkers, with Lin Feng holding them back, he would not have been able to break the array of the Great Light City. As long as the array was not broken, the great ruler would be invincible. However, now that the array of the Great Light City had already shattered, the arrangements made by the great ruler over billions of years had all been in vain. At this moment, so what if another ultimate voidwalker came? Facing the four dignified ultimate voidwalkers, he had no chance of winning at all. Lin Feng's gaze swept across ruler Blue Blood and the other four ultimate voidwalkers. He naturally knew that the four of them were all ultimate voidwalkers. I've killed some peak voidwalkers, but I've never killed an ultimate voidwalker. I'm very curious about the origin supreme treasure. Since the four of you have delivered yourselves to my door, I'll take them all. Lin Feng had no intention of backing down at all. In fact, he was looking down on them. From his words, he clearly did not take these four ultimate voidwalkers seriously. What arrogance! Heh! I'll send you on your way. one of the ultimate Voidwalkers sneered and immediately attacked. In all his years after becoming an ultimate Voidwalker, he had never encountered such an arrogant Voidwalker. Even other powerful ultimate Voidwalkers would not be so arrogant. After all, if one wanted to defeat an ultimate Voidwalker, they might only need a powerful Origin Supreme Treasure. However, even a powerful ultimate Voidwalker could not kill one. Ultimate Wheel. Crush. Opposite Lin Feng, one of the ultimate Voidwalkers used the Origin Supreme Treasure directly. It was like a huge wheel that stretched across the void as it crushed towards Lin Feng majestically. That wheel was simply too terrifying. It seemed to contain the power of darkness and light, but also the power of yin and yang. In short, the two powers converged and surged over. Before this power, no power seemed capable of resisting it. Origin Supreme Treasures. Lin Feng stared intently at the huge wheel. That was the Origin Supreme Treasure. The Origin aura on it was incomparably rich. Lin Feng also knew the Origin aura. It seemed to be an incomparably special aura. All Voidwalkers with Origin Supreme Treasures could sense it. Every Origin Supreme Treasure had a special ability. This Origin Supreme Treasure in front of him could integrate the power of yin and yang. It was also very terrifying. No matter how many peak Voidwalkers there were, they would just be trounced. It was impossible for them to withstand such a terrifying power. Lin Feng took a deep breath, and a strange glint flashed across his eyes. He wanted to study the Origin Supreme Treasure. Unfortunately, up until now, Lin Feng only had one Origin Supreme Treasure, the Spacetime Prison. In the void, no Origin Supreme Treasure had appeared recently. If he wanted to obtain an Origin Supreme Treasure, he could only obtain it from other ultimate Voidwalkers. And now, the opportunity had come. Lin Feng did not even need to specially find an excuse to go up. In Lin Feng's eyes, these four ultimate Voidwalkers were four Origin Supreme Treasures. Of course, the prerequisite was that Lin Feng could defeat or even kill his opponents. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng's heart was incomparably determined. Then, the space-time power on his body flashed. Swoosh! Lin Feng disappeared, disappearing without a trace in front of everyone. Even the few ultimate Voidwalkers did not sense any fluctuations. What's going on? He disappeared? There's no aura, no traces. How could he disappear silently? And in front of everyone? Be careful. Suddenly, Lin Feng appeared again. Ruler Blue Blood seemed to have sensed something. Unfortunately, his warning was already too late. Lin Feng had already reappeared silently behind that ultimate Voidwalker. As for the other party's ultimate wheel, it did not injure Lin Feng at all. On the other hand, Lin Feng arrived behind the other party and shouted, no longer holding back. Space-time prison. Suppress. Boom. A massive river of space-time appeared in the void. At the same time, a huge space-time prison suddenly descended from the river of space-time. The space-time confinement power instantly enveloped the ultimate Voidwalker. Immediately, even the ultimate Voidwalker was confined. His entire body was confined. Without the Origin Supreme Treasure, the ultimate Voidwalker was actually no different from an advanced Void Traveler. He was even inferior to a peak Voidwalker wielding a top-notch Supreme Treasure. The ultimate Voidwalker relied on the Origin Supreme Treasure. No. Although the ultimate Voidwalker could not move, he was connected to the Origin Supreme Treasure. Hence, with a thought, the ultimate will turned around and crushed towards Lin Feng. The mighty aura was too terrifying, as if it was about to crush Lin Feng into pieces. However, in the next moment, Lin Feng had already mobilized spacetime power and swept the ultimate Voidwalker into the spacetime prison. Boom! Finally, the ultimate will collided hard with the spacetime prison. However, the spacetime prison did not even move. In the next moment, the light on the ultimate will kept flickering, and then it gradually fell silent. There was no movement at all. Once something was swept inside Lin Feng's spacetime prison, it would lose all connection with the outside world. Hence, even Origin Supreme Treasures could not connect with the ultimate Voidwalker, and would become unclaimed. Retrieve. Lin Feng's spacetime prison rolled hard, and actually tried to forcefully absorb the ultimate wheel into the spacetime prison. It had to be known that both were Origin Supreme treasures, and it was basically very difficult for one to completely suppress the other. That was, unless the difference between the two was very, very great. For example, a top Origin Supreme treasure could easily suppress an ordinary Origin Supreme treasure. And now, the ultimate will shone brightly, as if it was resisting the suction of the space-time prison. However, this resistance only lasted for a short period of time. Soon, the ultimate will transformed into a beam of light and was sucked into the space-time prison. What? He actually lost? No, he fell. Even his Origin Supreme treasure is suppressed. Impossible. No matter what, he's an ultimate Voidwalker. How could he lose so quickly? There's also the ultimate wheel. That's an Origin Supreme treasure. How can it be suppressed? Although the ultimate wheel is an ordinary Origin Supreme treasure, if it's suppressed, it must be by at least a powerful Origin Supreme treasure. Could it be that this person's Origin Supreme treasure is a powerful Origin Supreme treasure, and he is a powerful ultimate Voidwalker? Seeing Lin Feng deal with an ultimate Voidwalker with ease, everyone was stunned. Even the Light Clan Great Ruler, who had felt that everything was over, was stunned at this moment. Lin Feng was a powerful ultimate Voidwalker? How was this possible? The Light Clan Great Ruler had always only felt that Lin Feng was an ordinary ultimate Voidwalker. At most, he was only slightly stronger than ordinary ultimate Voidwalker. But what was going on now? Lin Feng's battle with the opposing ultimate Voidwalker only lasted for the span of a breath. Killing an ultimate Voidwalker in the span of a breath was something that even a peak ultimate Voidwalker could not do. No, there's something strange about him. That power on him. Space-time power. Ruler Blue Blood was shocked. He carefully recalled the methods Lin Feng had used just now. Among them, the method of warping the void vaguely looked like space-time power. However, space-time power was the most mysterious power. He had never heard of anyone mastering space-time power. Could this unfamiliar ultimate Voidwalker in front of him have mastered space-time power? Having mastered space-time power, and the powerful Origin Supreme treasure that could suppress ordinary Origin Supreme treasures on top of that, Lin Feng's strength was suffocating. Since when had the Light Clan Great Ruler actually roped in such a powerful expert? No, it's impossible for him to be so strong. Otherwise, why would the Great Ruler despair previously? There's something strange about this person. The three of us will join forces and kill him. At this moment, Ruler Blue Blood did not dare to let his guard down either. He even placed the focus on Lin Feng. Attack! With Ruler Blue Blood's order, the three ultimate Voidwalkers immediately attacked. Moreover, they went all out as soon as they attacked. They would not take turns to deal with Lin Feng one by one. If they wanted to attack, they would have to attack together at once. Boom! The three ultimate Voidwalkers attacked, and they went all out the moment they attacked. At such a close distance, if their auras locked onto Lin Feng would definitely be unable to dodge. In reality, this was useless to Lin Feng, who had space-time power. If he wanted to leave, forget about locking onto his aura. So what if he was suppressed by an Origin Supreme treasure? Lin Feng could still leave. However, Lin Feng did not want to use the space-time power to evade it. Lin Feng would not let go of such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to obtain for Origin Supreme treasures so easily. If he used the space-time power to deal with these ultimate Voidwalkers, preventing them from sensing any hope, what would Lin Feng do if they escaped? After all, he did not have 3 heads and 6 arms, and could not split himself to pursue them. If the 4 Origin Supreme treasures were gone, the gains would not make up for the losses. Hence, Lin Feng had no intention of avoiding them. He also wanted to succeed in one battle. In that case, Lin Feng had nothing to hesitate about. This time, he would fight head-on. Space-time prison. Suppress. In the next moment, Lin Feng used the space-time prison. Immediately, a huge river of space-time stretched across the void. The beehive-shaped space-time prison descended from the sky majestically and collided with the strikes of the 3 ultimate Voidwalkers. This was a collision between Origin Supreme treasures. There was nothing fancy about it. Only the strong were eternally strong. Boom! The 3 Origin Supreme treasures collided fiercely. The terrifying shockwave swept in all directions majestically. The ripples even blasted the three ultimate Voidwalkers away. Despite their strength, they could not even withstand the shockwave and could only avoid it for the time being. Suddenly, a golden light exploded from the center. No one could see the situation inside clearly. What's going on? For ultimate Voidwalkers, fighting to the death. This is the collision of four Origin Supreme Treasures. Even a powerful Origin Supreme Treasure can't withstand it. Right? A powerful Origin Supreme Treasure cannot be ignored. In particular, this Origin Supreme Treasure of Ruler Lin Feng's is too special. It seems to have space-time power on it. It's still uncertain what the outcome would be. At this moment, even Lin Feng's expression was very solemn. Although he was confident in his strength, it was impossible for him to really ignore them. After all, they were the three ultimate Voidwalkers. No matter what, Lin Feng would not underestimate them. In particular, in a joint strike from the three of them, the power unleashed by the three Origin Supreme Treasures made even Lin Feng feel threatened. However, it was only a slight threat. Lin Feng believed that the spacetime prison was not an ordinary Origin Supreme Treasure. Moreover, he still had the spacetime power. In the river of spacetime, the power of the spacetime prison would be unleashed to the extreme. River of spacetime, Lin Feng shouted in a low voice. Even now, Lin Feng still had some strength left. He even waved his hand and unleashed the river of spacetime. It descended forcefully. Buzz. The next moment, the spacetime prison immediately responded. Waves of majestic spacetime power erupted fiercely. At the same time, the expressions of Ruler Blue Blood and the other two ultimate Voidwalkers changed drastically. How is this possible? My Origin Supreme Treasure. Impossible. The eyes of the three ultimate Voidwalkers widened. They could not believe the scene before them. Although they could not see the exact situation between the four Origin Supreme Treasures, they could still sense it slightly through their Origin Supreme Treasures. In the beginning, the two parties were indeed in a stalemate. This shocked the three ultimate Voidwalkers. The combined attack of three Origin Supreme Treasures could only stall Lin Feng's spacetime prison. This meant that Lin Feng's spacetime prison alone was comparable to their three Origin Supreme Treasures. When Lin Feng used the river of spacetime, it was as if the power of the spacetime prison immediately soared. It actually devoured the three Origin Supreme Treasures in an instant. As the light dissipated, only the spacetime prison was left in the void. It stretched across the void, appearing to emit traces of the aura of eternity. He lost. Ruler Blue Blood lost. Ha ha ha. Ruler Lin Feng defeated the three ultimate Voidwalkers alone. No, he defeated four ultimate Voidwalkers. Incredible. Ruler Lin Feng must be a powerful ultimate Voidwalker. Seeing this scene, those experienced and knowledgeable Voidwalkers who had a certain understanding of ultimate Voidwalkers all cheered, and could not help but feel relieved. As for the remaining ones, including Ruler Blue Blood, even ordinary Voidwalkers did not care. They knew very well that once they lost their Origin Supreme Treasure, ultimate Voidwalkers would not be much stronger than the advanced Voidwalkers. Ruler Blue Blood and the others had already lost. Ruler Blue Blood made a prompt decision. He used some kind of secret technique and transformed into a scarlet light, about to escape. Ruler Blue Blood was not the only one, the other two rulers did the same. They each used their secret techniques and retreated almost without hesitation. They knew very well that without the Origin Supreme Treasure, they would be nothing. Clearly, Lin Feng's spacetime prison was even more terrifying than they had imagined. It was an Origin Supreme Treasure that could suppress their Origin Supreme Treasures, and even make them lose their connection to their Origin Supreme Treasures. How were they supposed to fight like this? Losing the Origin Supreme Treasure had almost reduced their strength to that of advanced Voidwalkers. They might still have top-notch Supreme Treasures that could allow them to become peak Voidwalkers. But what was the use? They could not withstand a single blow from Lin Feng. However, no matter how weak they were, they still had a chance to make a comeback as long as they stayed alive. Back then, Ruler Blue Blood had been forbearing so that he could make a comeback today and have a chance to take revenge. Unfortunately, he met Lin Feng. They had already confirmed that Lin Feng must be a powerful ultimate voidwalker. How did the great ruler manage to rope in such an expert? Even if the great ruler gave the great light city to Lin Feng, such an expert would not pay much attention to it. However, they had encountered him, causing their plan, which was basically in the bag this time, to be all for nothing. They could barely even protect themselves. Trying to escape? It's too late. River of space-time. Stop. Lin Feng yelled. He did not use the space-time prison. Instead, he used the power of the river of space-time. With the current power of the river of space-time, it could easily cover an area of billions of kilometers. If he wanted to, it would not be difficult for Lin Feng to kill a void city with a thought. Of course, the prerequisite was that there were no ultimate voidwalkers. If there was an ultimate voidwalker, it was impossible for Lin Feng's river of spacetime to remain stationary. All ultimate voidwalkers had origin supreme treasures. The burden on Lin Feng would be so heavy that even his medium kiliocosm could not withstand it. However, the ultimate voidwalkers who had lost their origin supreme treasure were not like this. Without the origin supreme treasure, ultimate voidwalkers would no longer be ultimate voidwalkers. They would only be advanced voidwalkers or peak voidwalkers. Buzz. Under the envelopment of the river of spacetime, the bodies of ruler Blue Blood and the other two rulers froze slightly before stopping completely. Without the origin supreme treasure, their own strength was far inferior to Lin Feng's. It had to be known that even without relying on any supreme treasures, Lin Feng's own strength approached peak voidwalkers infinitely. In terms of his own strength, Lin Feng was stronger than these three rulers. Hence, using the river of spacetime to imprison the three mere rulers was a piece of cake. Annihilate! Lin Feng waved his hand, and a terrifying medium kiliocosm power enveloped the three rulers forcefully. Then it shook violently. Bang! Immediately, the three rulers exploded like balloons, turning into dust without leaving a trace. The three rulers had fallen completely. Seeing this scene, even the Light Clan great ruler's mouth fell open, and a trace of shock appeared in his eyes. There was even a slightly complicated look in his eyes. Ruler Blue Blood was practically his nemesis. They had been entangled since a long time ago. The last time, the great ruler had almost killed ruler Blue Blood, but he was still a little short. The great ruler had also been on guard against ruler Blue Blood. He did not expect ruler Blue Blood to make a comeback this time, fully prepared to destroy the Great Light City in one fell swoop. Originally, ruler Blue Blood had already succeeded, only to meet Lin Feng and fall. It was fate. The great ruler even felt that he was in luck, or rather, had good judgment. Back then, he had paid a huge price to befriend Lin Feng. If not for Lin Feng, the Great Light City would probably not have survived this time. Even the great ruler himself would be in danger of falling. And now it was all over. Lin Feng had killed 4 ultimate voidwalkers alone. After this battle, ruler Lin Feng's name would definitely spread throughout the entire void. At that time, no one would dare to covet the Great Light City anymore. Swoosh! The great ruler flew into the void and arrived in front of Lin Feng. Ruler Lin Feng, it's all thanks to you. Without you, the Great Light City would be lost. The great ruler bowed sincerely to Lin Feng. Great ruler, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Don't forget that I'm now the honorary city lord of the Great Light City. If they want to destroy the Great Light City, wouldn't that cut off my source of income? It's also my duty to deal with the 4 rulers. Indeed, Lin Feng still treasured the Great Light City a lot. By the way, I need to cultivate in seclusion immediately. I'll leave the remaining trivial matters to the great ruler. With that, Lin Feng entered the Great Light City in a flash. Looking at Lin Feng's eager figure, the great ruler frowned, as if he was thinking about something. He could not make up his mind for a long time. After a long while, the great ruler gritted his teeth and muttered in a low voice, "No pain, no gain. Ruler Lin Feng is a powerful ultimate voidwalker. Since he's willing to stay in the Great Light City, that's the greatest benefit to the Great Light City. Looks like the previous 30% was too low. I have to give Lin Feng at least 50%. Even though this way the great ruler would lose 20% of the profits, the great ruler was actually more willing to give Lin Feng 60% or 70% if possible. However, the Great Light City was ultimately the life's work of the great ruler. If Lin Feng obtained too many benefits, the ruler of the Great Light City would probably change subtly in the future. The great ruler would no longer have anything to do with it. Hence, 50% was the limit. At most, the great ruler would give Lin Feng some other compensation in the future. As for the aftermath, the great ruler immediately arranged for people to deal with it. He even took the initiative to publicize Lin Feng's reputation in the void. In the future, with a powerful entity like Lin Feng, who had killed 4 ultimate voidwalkers alone, the Great Light City would be incomparably safe. Safety was the most precious wealth of a void city. The space-time prison is a little unstable. Lin Feng quickly entered the secret chamber. He frowned slightly. This was the first time he felt that the space-time prison was unstable, and was even about to break free from his control. This was the first time such a situation had happened since Lin Feng mastered the space-time prison. It was extraordinary. Hence, Lin Feng rushed back to the Great Light City and entered the secret chamber to study it carefully. Huh? There appears to be some changes in the interior of the space-time prison. Lin Feng immediately immersed his consciousness in the space-time prison. Boom! Suddenly, as soon as Lin Feng's consciousness entered the space-time prison, he felt the world turn upside down. Waves of terrifying power wreaked havoc in the space-time prison. It's those 4 Origin Supreme Treasures. Lin Feng's heart sank. He had found the reason. Origin Supreme Treasures. Lin Feng saw 4 Origin Supreme Treasures in front of him, especially the broken saber. The fluctuations were incomparably intense. Even the spaces in the space-time prison could not trap these 4 Origin Supreme Treasures, causing them to trigger monstrous waves in the space-time prison. As expected, it's very difficult to suppress the Origin Supreme Treasure. Even the space-time prison seems to be a little short. Lin Feng was a little glad now that he had not stored the 4 Origin Supreme Treasures in his medium kiliocosm. Otherwise, once the 4 Origin Supreme Treasures rioted, he would not know what to do. At least they were inside the space-time prison now. Although the space-time prison was in a mess, it could still more or less suppress them. That was enough. River of space-time. Lin Feng shouted in a low voice. Lin Feng looked at the somewhat unstable space-time prison and immediately threw it into the river of space-time. With the nourishment of the river of space-time, the space-time prison was almost continuously supported by space-time power continuously. Hence, it slowly began to calm the impact of the 4 Origin Supreme Treasures. Actually, the current space-time prison had already reached a bottleneck in advancement. Lin Feng had already used the space-time prison to kill some ultimate voidwalkers. However, in reality, be it ultimate voidwalkers or peak voidwalkers, their own strength was not that much. In essence, they were still advanced voidwalkers. In fact, no matter how many more he killed, they would not be of much use to the current space-time prison. Lin Feng understood that the current space-time prison was at most equivalent to a powerful Origin Supreme Treasure. It was still some distance away from becoming a peak Origin Supreme Treasure. If Lin Feng wanted to continue improving his strength, or even reach the level of a void overlord, he would have to make the space-time prison undergo metamorphosis again. However, Lin Feng also knew very well that it would be very, very difficult for the space-time prison to undergo metamorphosis again. Ordinary voidwalkers were no longer of much use to the space-time prison, and void beasts were difficult to encounter. Even if they were encountered, how many powerful void beasts could there be? Hence, Lin Feng focused his attention on the Origin Supreme Treasures. Lin Feng had a vague feeling that since the space-time prison and the other Origin Supreme Treasures all came from the Origin realm, there must be some intrinsic connection. In the space-time prison, as the space-time prison continued to suppress, the 4 Origin Supreme Treasures continued to shake. Fortunately, with the continuous support of space-time power, Lin Feng's space-time prison could gradually control the situation. At the very least, it would not let the 4 Origin Supreme Treasures go out of control again. Among these 4 Origin Supreme Treasures, the broken saber was undoubtedly the strongest. This broken saber should be a powerful Origin Supreme Treasure. Unfortunately, it was broken. Even though Ruler Blue Blood had repaired most of it, a small portion was still broken, which limited the power of the broken saber. Otherwise, even with the power of the current spacetime prison, it would be impossible to suppress the broken saber in its peak state. Looking at these 4 origin supreme treasures, Lin Feng fell into deep thought. These 4 origin supreme treasures were all clearly resisting the spacetime prison. Even with the support of the river of spacetime, it would not be easy for the spacetime prison to completely suppress them. Moreover, the most troublesome thing was that once Lin Feng wanted to use the spacetime prison, with these 4 origin supreme treasures causing trouble in the spacetime prison, it was impossible for Lin Feng to use the power of the spacetime prison. Hence, this matter had to be resolved. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome. Lin Feng had 2 methods now. One was to refine these 4 origin supreme treasures. Actually, this was also the choice of most voidwalkers. Some powerful voidwalkers would have 2 or even 3 origin supreme treasures. However, origin supreme treasures were very special. Refining every one of them would impose a huge burden on the voidwalker. Even many ultimate voidwalkers could not withstand the burden from 2 or 3 of them. At that time, the more he refined, the more burden it would pose. It would actually be far less powerful than refining just 1 origin supreme treasure. Lin Feng could probably refine 2 origin supreme treasures, but he did not know what the effect would be either. There was another method, and that was to gather the power of these origin supreme treasures to help the spacetime prison undergo metamorphosis. Even without metamorphosis, it could increase the progress in advancement of the spacetime prison and allow it to undergo metamorphosis one day. However, while the spacetime prison could kill life forms and cultivators to increase its accumulation, could it devour these origin supreme treasures? Lin Feng himself did not know either. However, the spacetime prison alone was probably not enough to devour these origin supreme treasures. Let me see if I can completely destroy these origin supreme treasures. Lin Feng tried to use medium kiliocosm power to strike the origin supreme treasure forcefully. Unfortunately, no matter how much power Lin Feng used, it was useless. However, since the broken saber could be destroyed, it meant that origin supreme treasures could be destroyed. It was just that Lin Feng's methods were insufficient to destroy it now. That's right. Can spacetime power break down these origin supreme treasures? Lin Feng thought of a possibility. His spacetime power was the most miraculous and majestic power in existence. Nothing could escape the restraints of spacetime power in the end. Even the medium kiliocosm and the void were ultimately composed of spacetime. At this thought, Lin Feng was prepared to give it a try. He picked up the ultimate wheel. This was an ordinary origin supreme treasure. It looked very strong, but Lin Feng really did not take it seriously. It was far inferior to the spacetime prison. If they could integrate into the spacetime prison, that would be the best outcome. Spacetime power. Lin Feng threw the ultimate wheel into the river of spacetime. He began to use the spacetime power to slowly corrode it. Apart from eternal things, Lin Feng believed that nothing could resist the erosion of spacetime. However, as time passed, the ultimate will did not seem to have changed at all. Spacetime acceleration. Lin Feng did not believe that anything was eternal. Even if it was an origin supreme treasure, he did not believe that it was really eternal. Hence, the next moment, Lin Feng began to accelerate spacetime. Every spacetime acceleration posed a huge burden on Lin Feng. Of course, the burden was much lighter than reversing spacetime. Moreover, Lin Feng could not reverse spacetime at all. The origin supreme treasures involved the secret of origin. It was simply a fool's dream for Lin Feng to reverse spacetime to search for the origin realm. Perhaps his medium kiliocosm would collapse as soon as he reversed it. His medium kiliocosm could not withstand such a huge burden at all. Accelerating spacetime, on the other hand, was different. In the river of spacetime acceleration was common, and the consumption was far less than reversing spacetime. However, this required a long time of gradual erosion to see the outcome. Lin Feng was just accelerating the spacetime of the ultimate wheel. He was not in a hurry. He was very patient and waited quietly. 1 epoch, 2 epochs, 3 epochs, 4 epochs. Lin Feng used spacetime acceleration to make epochs pass for the ultimate wheel. After such a long time, even the ultimate will finally began to change slightly. Ha! As Lin Feng accelerated spacetime to constantly corrode the ultimate wheel, he finally realized something different. After 13 epochs, the ultimate will finally could not withstand the erosion of time. In the end, an origin supreme treasure cannot last forever. Lin Feng muttered softly. The ultimate wheel in front of him began to loosen a little. Right on the heels of that, some of the internal structures seemed to begin to change. The ultimate wheel began to disintegrate bit by bit. The speed of disintegration was very slow, and a little of it actually had no effect on the ultimate wheel at all. Or rather, the impact was almost negligible. However, this could not change the fact that the ultimate wheel had begun to disintegrate. This also proved that the ultimate wheel was not eternal. This was the most important thing to Lin Feng. After all, the erosion of time was invisible and intangible, but it could not be resisted. If 13 epochs was not enough time, he would continue to accelerate spacetime. After 14 epochs, 15 epochs, 16 epochs, 17 epochs, Lin Feng was accelerating spacetime the entire time. Actually, accelerating the spacetime of the ultimate will also place a certain burden on Lin Feng's medium kiliocosm. However, this time, Lin Feng could be said to have spared no expense. He used all the natural treasures he had collected for restoring the medium kiliocosm this time. Forget about a mere dozen or so epochs. Lin Feng could easily hold out for dozens or hundreds of epochs. Finally, after the 20th epoch, the ultimate will could no longer hold out. The speed of disintegration increased, and it was disintegrating bit by bit at a visible speed. This was a natural disintegration. It would disintegrate once the time was up. This was the erosion of spacetime power. It was simply terrifying to the extreme. There were very few powers in the world that could resist the erosion of time. Only eternal power or eternal substances could resist erosion. Otherwise, they would all be eroded. But, did eternal power and eternal matter truly exist? Even Lin Feng was doubtful. True eternity was transcending time and space. How majestic and miraculous was such an existence? At least, Lin Feng still could not understand such an existence. Apparently, that the ultimate wheel was not an eternal substance. Hence, it was eroded by the spacetime power and finally disintegrated completely. However, disintegration was only the beginning. Lin Feng had paid a huge price to erode an origin supreme treasure. Now, this origin supreme treasure was equivalent to being destroyed. It completely disintegrated into dust and disappeared from the spacetime prison. Lin Feng observed carefully. Had the spacetime prison changed? After all, that was a true origin supreme treasure. Even after disintegration, the miraculous power would remain in the spacetime prison. It would be up to the spacetime prison to absorb it. The spacetime prison shook slightly, as if some drastic change was occurring. The space of the entire spacetime prison was actually metamorphosing rapidly. It was as if the spaces had become larger, more stable, and were expanding rapidly. This was clearly a change that only occurred in the spacetime prison when Lin Feng killed other powerful cultivators or lifeforms. Moreover, the change was even more intense. It's effective. The spacetime prison has become stronger. Lin Feng was overjoyed, and there was a trace of elation on his face. He knew how special the spacetime prison was. It was probably extraordinary in the origin realm as well, and was definitely not an ordinary origin supreme treasure. At the very least, this was the first time Lin Feng had heard of an origin supreme treasure that could grow. In the past, only killing lifeforms or cultivators could improve the spacetime prison. Now, it could even devour origin supreme treasures to strengthen itself. Of course, origin supreme treasures could only be devoured by the spacetime prison after they had disintegrated. Otherwise, the current power of the spacetime prison was not enough to devour those origin supreme treasures. Just one origin supreme treasure was enough to increase the power of the spacetime prison explosively. Moreover, Lin Feng still had 3 origin supreme treasures. I wonder if these 3 origin supreme treasures can allow the spacetime prison to undergo metamorphosis? In reality, Lin Feng did not know the actual standard of metamorphosis either. Or rather, he did not know when it could undergo metamorphosis. After all, Lin Feng had never seen a peak origin supreme treasure. All Lin Feng could do now was continue to disintegrate the other 3 origin supreme treasures. Hence, Lin Feng continued to accelerate spacetime. The second, third, fourth. As Lin Feng accelerated spacetime, he disintegrated the other 3 origin supreme treasures. Among them, disintegrating the broken saber took the longest time, about 30 epochs of spacetime acceleration. It took such a long time to erode an origin supreme treasure. This was enough to show that the broken saber was extraordinary. If the broken saber were complete, there was no knowing how long it would take to erode it. However, after devouring the 4 origin supreme treasures, although the spacetime prison had improved substantially, Lin Feng could sense that it seemed to be still a long way from metamorphosis. How strong is a peak origin treasure? Lin Feng muttered softly. He had never seen a peak origin supreme treasure, and did not know how strong a peak origin supreme treasure was. He did not even know if the current spacetime prison could be comparable to a peak origin supreme treasure. However, he knew that the spacetime prison had yet to undergo metamorphosis. It was probably very difficult to make the spacetime prison undergo metamorphosis again. It was not something that could be settled with 1 or 2 origin supreme treasures. Could it be because the quality of the origin supreme treasure is too low? Lin Feng thought of the broken saber. Actually, after disintegrating the broken saber, the spacetime prison improved by a lot at once. The increase was huge, almost equivalent to the effect of the other 3 origin supreme treasures combined. It had to be known that that was only a broken saber, not a complete powerful origin supreme treasure. The difference between an ordinary origin supreme treasure and a powerful origin supreme treasure was also unimaginable. However, how difficult was it to obtain another powerful origin supreme treasure? After all, once one possessed a powerful origin supreme treasure, they would truly be a powerful ultimate voidwalker. With Lin Feng's current strength, it would basically not be a problem for him to defeat ordinary ultimate voidwalkers. However, things would be different if he encountered a powerful ultimate voidwalker. Perhaps Lin Feng would be fine. With the principle of spacetime, even void overlords could not kill him. However, it would not be easy for him to defeat a powerful ultimate voidwalker. However, as the spacetime prison grew stronger, Lin Feng vaguely sensed that there seemed to be some principle of spacetime hidden in the spacetime prison as well. Moreover, the principle of spacetime within seemed to be vaguely different from Lin Feng's principle of spacetime. As for what the difference was, Lin Feng did not know either. This was just an intuition, and Lin Feng trusted his intuition. I still have too little comprehension of the principle of spacetime. If I can see the legendary origin gate and enter the origin realm, perhaps I can see the truly powerful principle of spacetime. Lin Feng had also begun to search for the origin gate now. He was also becoming more and more convinced of the existence of the origin gate. In other words, he firmly believed that the origin realm truly existed.